Hi, this is Steve. Welcome back to my channel, Scale Model Kit Review. Welcome back to another installment of the DeAgostini Collectibles T1 Samba bus. And that is a fantastic build, and I'm having a blast doing it. If you haven't done so already, head over to DeAgostini Collectibles and check out this build today and subscribe to it. Let them know I sent you. I'm having a blast with it, and it's a fun build, and it's an impressive kit indeed. So I'm working on stages 53 through 57. We'll be working on the suspension in the rear part of the car along with the exhaust a little bit, and it's very simple to do, very easy, and I'm really enjoying this immensely. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back. Let's look at pack 12, and these are all the parts I received. For stage 53, I received the left rear suspension. Stage 54, the right rear suspension. Stage 55 will be the wheel well arches. Stage 56, again, some more wheel well arches. And lastly, stage 57, the exhaust assembly. Let's get started on stage 53. And welcome back. Before I actually begin on 53, let's look at the entire magazine for 53. And it's a great magazine. It averages 12 to 13 pages, semi-gloss pages, very nice photography, great articles here. DeAgostini Collectibles did a lot of research on this. So this is the article about the T2 evolution, and these would be the 1970 to 71 Volkswagen buses. And wonderful article here. Talks about everything that changed in those years, all the improvements that were done to this bus. And then they give us step-by-step instructions for the rear suspension. This time we're going to be working on the left rear suspension arm, or what we call the swing arm, control arm, and the assembly diagram, which is actually what we'll be building in this stage. I like that. Once again, step by step. And that completes everything. So let's get a close-up of this. And look at the build instructions for 53. Once again, working on the left rear suspension. These are all the parts included. And the assembly diagram. And we install the rear swing arm. That gets screwed down. Then we install a spring. And the shock mechanism. Put a cap on the swing arm, suspension arm, which is your torsion bar arm. And we install the brakes later, and that completes stage 53. So let me get the parts and I'll be right back. Here's the parts for stage 53. I'll take these out, we'll get a closer look. And here's a close-up of the parts. We received the BP04, BD05, and BP11 screws, and the brake drum itself, which is made of plastic, the brake backing plate and brakes themselves, which is also made of plastic. That's very nice. Spring for the shock, the top of the shock absorber, the cap for the torsion arm. Here's the torsion arm. It is made of metal, and that's very nice there. And note it does have an L on it for the left side. Very good. Let's get started. First thing we're going to do, we're going to install this suspension arm here, and it's going to go on the left side of the car, which is this side right here. And looking at the arm, we can see it mounts down on the shaft here and onto the drive shaft. And the drive shaft has a notch on it, so we want to make sure the drive shaft is turned. And we're going to slip that into the drive shaft and down on the suspension, just like that. BP04 screw goes into this part right here. So I'll get that started. Next, BP11 goes into here, and that has a flange on it. BP11. That's good there. Next, we'll install our shock assembly, and we want to put our spring into this. Goes in there first, and then we'll put our top part of the shock assembly into it, into the housing. Press down on it, and it goes into that shaft there. A BD05 screw will go into that. BD, D mean die cast, so we got to oil this up. So I'm going to put some Vaseline inside. Okay. And BD05 screw will go into that. And that's perfect. Very good. You can see that. And that's how that looks. Looks great. We do one more thing. We go ahead and put our cap on. And it's made of plastic. Just going to go over the top, snap in. And that looks just like the real thing. Torsion, bars, everything hooked up to it. That looks great. So that's all we do for stage 53. So let's go ahead and head over and start on stage 54. We're going to work on the other side. I'll be right back. And welcome back to stage 54. Let's look at the build instructions. So for this stage, we're going to install the right rear suspension components, just like we did in 53. Here's the assembly diagram. And just as before, we'll make sure everything lines up. We'll put the screw into the torsion shaft. Work on the shock absorber spring. Install the top part of the bottom part of the shock. And we'll put the cap on, and that's all we'll do. Let me get the parts, and I will be right back. That's what it looks like. Here's the parts pack for stage 54. Let me take these out and we'll get a closer look. Here's the parts. We receive a BP04, BD05, and BP11. Once again, the brake drum and brakes themselves, the brake backing plate, these are made of plastic. Very nice there. The bottom part of the shock, metal spring, the cap, and torsion bar. Notice it has an R on it for the right side. Made of metal. Very nice there. Let's get started. And welcome back. We're going to install the torsion bar just like we did in 53. We want to make sure everything lines up. So this goes on that shaft there, our drive shaft. Make sure the notch lines up. And we'll install that first. Let me get a view here for you. And it's going to go on. Okay. Get that in there. It's kind of a tight squeeze there. There we go. And we'll line up the drive shaft. There we go. And BP04 screw goes into this. That's good there. BP11 goes into this. Notice that this is a flange screw. Perfect. Next we'll put in our spring. Then we'll put on our shock assembly. Push down on it. Perfect. Lubricate the hole. BD05 screw goes into that. Perfect. That's how that looks. Put our cap on. And make sure the suspension works. And it works good. Okay, that's all we do with stage 54. Let's head over and do stage 55. I'll be right back. Welcome back, and we are already on stage 55. This is really going fast. So let's look at the build instructions for this. We're installing the rear brake drums. The parts we received is the left wheel well arch. And there's the assembly instructions for the drums. We're going to be putting on both sides. And they are marked with a left and a right. We'll insert them on. Put the drum over the outside. Same on both sides. Making sure that your brake line is on top of the wheel that they're showing right there. That's how that looks. And that's what it looks like completed. So let me get the parts out and I'll be right back. And here's the parts for stage 55. It's the wheel well arch. I believe it's the left side. I'll take this out. We'll get a closer look. BD04 screws. And here's the arch. Plastic. Black on the underside. Red on top. Very cool. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to install the brakes and brake drums next. We're going to do the left side and then the right side. So the left side will go down, and they say it needs to line up with a tab on the top. And you can see there's kind of a triangle looking where the tab is. So that's going to line up with that. Okay, just like that. Goes in that hole, and then we'll put our drum on. Perfect. Okay, so there's nothing that actually holds this in place right now. No screws are being used. And once again, line up the triangle on top and the drum. Perfect. So that's all we do with this stage. We'll go ahead and head over and do stage 56. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's go ahead and look at the build instructions for stage 56. In stage 56, we're going to assemble both rear wheel arches and the battery. So we do receive the other right rear wheel arch and the battery itself with some screws. Here's the assembly diagram. And we're going to go ahead and install the left side first. Put that down. Put in BD04 screws. So we need to make sure we lubricate the holes for that. Then we'll install the battery next. And then the right wheel well arch. And of course the battery is mounted on that arch. Put our screws into that, and that's what it will look like. I'll be right back with the parts. We'll get a closer look. Here's the parts pack for stage 56. I'll take this out, we'll get a closer look. BDO 4 screws, BPO 4 screws. We get the battery, that's made of plastic, and the plastic wheel well arch, just like before. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, here's our left wheel well arch, and that's simply just going to go down on top of this, just like that. And we're going to put 3 screws into this, so I want to lubricate the holes. Remember, lubricating the holes is just going to save you on the energy it takes to put the screws into the metal. It's also going to prevent the screws from breaking, and it just makes everything just right. I use Vaseline. You can use sewing machine oil if you like. I just think the Vaseline it's less messy, and I've been using it all along ever since I started my first park work kit, which was the DeLorean. Speaking of which, the DeLorean is coming back. I'm receiving the parts any day now for that, so stay tuned for that, and I will continue my build on the DeLorean. There's one. That's good there. That's how that looks. Looks great. Turn it around. Get a better view. There we go. Let's do the other side next. And you can see the pin there. Goes into it. Turn it over. BPO 4 screw goes into that. Perfect. Now we'll install this on the chassis. And the chassis just goes down on there. Want to lubricate those holes again. Once again, this is the right side going down. Looking good. BDO 5 screws go into this. Same as the other side. Second one, we got one more to do after this. And the last one. Perfect. And that completes stage 56. Let's head over and do stage 57, and that will be the exhaust system. I'll be right back. And welcome back. Let's look at the build instructions for the final stage for Pack 12, Stage 57. And for Stage 57, we install the exhaust assembly. These are all the parts that were included. And here's the assembly diagram. First thing we do is we install our battery cables. Pretty cool there. That's how they look. Then we start installing the exhaust system. We start screwing all that together. That's how that looks. And we don't install it just yet onto the car. And that's all we do with that stage. Let me get the parts and I'll be right back. Here's the parts pack for stage 57. I'll take these out. We'll get a closer look. Here's a close-up of those parts. All the exhaust parts are made of plastic. They look very nice there. And of course the battery cables. Let's get started. We also received BPO 4 screws. Alright, so we'll install our first cable, the longer one, and has the beveled edge on one end and just flat on the other. So that's going to go on top of the battery, just like that. And then the beveled edge goes into the back of the engine compartment. And you can just see that there. Same with the front here. On the chassis first, probably be easier. Push that down. Put the longer side in on the battery. Push that down. There we go. And I may opt to super glue those in place, but for now they look good. So that's how they look there. Now we'll work on the exhaust system. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install this on here. We have a larger hole and a smaller hole, and they'll go in just like that. And we'll put a BPO4 screw in on the back side. That's good there. And then we'll put these together. Exhaust pipes to go out this direction. Just like that. And it is. 2 more BPO4 screws go into this. And that's how that looks. So that completes assembly of stage 57. I'll be right back. And that completes pack 12. Very easy to install everything here. I really enjoyed this immensely. We got the exhaust built up, we put in the wheel well arches, and we put in the drum brakes, and also the rear suspension torsion arms left and right. I think it's fantastic. If you like my content, please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Happy modeling, everybody, and I'll see you back here with pack 13.